Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio, the place you'll find responsibly handled Bible study. It's all 100% fresh Bible, so you know it's good for you. Today we're looking at Psalm 45, verses 6 through 8. We started yesterday talking about Messiah, the King. Speak of things which I have made touching the King. Thou art fairer than the children of men. Grace is poured into thy lips. And when he speaks, friends, it is sweet. And of course that reminds us of Song of Solomon, doesn't it? The lips of the King. They're sweet. They're perfumed. He speaks sweetness to us. Today we're looking at more about Messiah. Here in 6, 7, and 8, let me read those verses for you. Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a right scepter. Thou lovest righteousness and hatest wickedness. Therefore God, thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. All thy garments smell of myrrh and aloes and cassia, out of the ivory palaces whereby they have made thee glad. You'll notice that we have his throne mentioned, so we've seen him in his warrior condition. He's girded on sword in glory and majesty. He's mounted his chariot, riding behind truth, meekness, and righteousness. His arrows, there is not one dull arrow in his quiver, and he fires them point blank at the heart of his enemies to either convict or destroy. And the peoples fall under him. Why? Because and at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow. And so today, not only have we seen this warrior king coming, he's now ridden into the city. Notice verse 6, thy throne. So he's mounted the throne now, is forever and ever. And notice that we've gone from king to God. Have you noticed that? Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. Thou lovest righteousness and hatest wickedness. Who is it that we're talking about here? We're talking about Messiah. And if you have any doubt, look at verse 7. Therefore God thy God hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. If you look at Hebrews chapter 1, verse 8. But under the sun, he saith, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of thy kingdom. There it is. So in Hebrews chapter 1, the Hebrew evangelist is making a distinction between angels and the Son of God. And so he quotes from Psalm 45. There is no way that we can say that this psalm talks about anything less than the Son of God. That's who this is about. Let's not make it just a psalm or a hymn or a song sung at the wedding of some earthly king and his bride. Oh, no, no. No, this is the Son of God we're talking about. All thy garments smell of myrrh. What does that remind you of? All thy garments smell of myrrh and cassia and aloes out of ivory palaces whereby they have made thee glad. Have you ever used ivory soap? If you've ever used ivory soap or bought ivory soap, this is where they get the name for the soap. I don't remember which of the two gentlemen, I think it was Mr. Gamble maybe, they had invented the soap and they were trying to think of a name and he came across Psalm 45 and he said, we'll just call this ivory soap. So that's where we get it, or that's where he got the name from, right here in verse 8 of Psalm 45. All thy garments smell of myrrh, aloe, cassia out of ivory palaces. And of course, you know the kings in the ancient East loved to adorn their palaces with ivory paneling, and paneling that was inlaid with ivory. So these ivory palaces, we're not talking about something now on earth, but we're talking about something heavenly. We're in this heavenly temple now, this heavenly palace, this place, the Lord's house, the Father's house. All right, join me tomorrow. We're going to begin looking at the church on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.